The people of the northern Nigeria in general, and in particular that of Bauchi, are hospitable. And then the potentials are there not only in agriculture, but also in the areas of mineral resources. The last but not the least is the discovery of hydrocarbons in Bauchi State. I believe the investors will have opportunities to play around on how we shall turn the fortunes of not only Nigeria, but Africa in general. Under the ease of doing business, the Commissioner has said it all, that the state government has laid a solid foundation that will enable investors to invest in a very suitable environment. On this note, once again, on behalf of the governors of the northeastern states of Nigeria, I want to welcome His Excellency, the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, ably represented by the Vice President, the ambassadors in particular, and all those investors that are here to take this opportunity, to use this opportunity of this summit.
The many summits we have held invited dignitaries, professionals, ambassadors, and of course industrialists to come together and see how they can develop our communities. But I want to ask a question: how far have we gone with all this investment summit? What have we really achieved? Have we really sat down to evaluate what we have gotten from this investment summit that took place? I want to challenge the governors of the North. Now, I'm very happy some few weeks back, there was, I think, a summit in Kaduna, economic summit for the North. That was a very good paper, Hayatuddin presented. And I think all governors in the North should have a copy of that. I want to challenge the governors of the North, through the Northern Governors Forum, to sit together and evaluate all these investment summits of the last how many, 5, 6, 7, 10 years. What have they achieved? Are there changes physically in the minds and in the posture of our people or not? What have we really done with such investment summit? Because we come tomorrow again, another state investment summit. We gather together here. We leave an excellent forum, very beautiful speeches, very big grammar, but at the end of it, what else? What are we achieving?
I would like to emphasize on education, good governance, and human capital development. Because without getting this right, no investor will take us seriously. No society can rise above the quality of its people, and no people can rise above the quality of their education. Meaningful and sustained investment in education is impossible without good governance. Education requires more than classrooms and teachers. It requires vision, planning, and accountability, the hallmarks of sound governance. When governance is transparent, resource-rich schools, when it is efficient, policies endure, and when it's inclusive, every child has a chance to learn and to contribute. I remember when President Obasanjo was launching UBE in Sokoto early 1999 to 2000, and I was privileged to farmstead education then. We reminded him of UPE and the challenges thereon. So we built on what we see. Building, not really recreating things or duplicating efforts is very, very important. Massive investment in education is not merely a social duty. It is an economic strategy. It transforms potential into productivity, citizens into innovators, and youth into builders of future. The Bauchi State government's current efforts to expand access to schools, improve ICT hubs, and promote vocational training are steps in the right direction. But to sustain such momentum, governance must remain firm, fair, and forward-looking, because good governance is the backbone of lasting educational reform. In truth, education and governance are two sides of the same coin. One provides knowledge, and the other ensures that there is structure. Together, they define the strength of our human capital and the direction of our development. I would like to emphasize that we are seeing some successes in this area. Governance, when effective, becomes the invisible infrastructure beneath every success story. It may not always attract applause, but it is what sustains progress. In Bauchi, visible improvements in infrastructure, administrative processes, and transparency are steadily building investor confidence. This is the essence of leadership that views governance not as routine, but as a reform.
I don't want to waste so much time on protocol because it is a time well spent. And I know Mr. Vice President has so many contending issues, but he left them to come here, including other guests that are here. And I will not repeat what my predecessors or those who came here and spoke about investment or about Bauchi, but I just, on behalf of the people and government of Bauchi, would say that we are very grateful to the federal government and, of course, Mr. Vice President, for always making it a duty to come here and be with us. Definitely, we appreciate beyond measure, beyond your estimation, this kind of solemn identification with us. You have shown leadership, and we are grateful to you forever, and we are always with you anywhere you are. We're not only in politics, but in everything, because you have shown me leadership and care. What we are doing in Bauchi is to make sure we do that. And Governor Zulum will tell you that we have an integrated development plan under his leadership as chairman of our Northeast Governors Forum, where we are deepening peer review mechanism, learning from each other. You go to all our government houses, you can see they are building government houses like my own. They learn it from me. I learned about agriculture from Governor Zulum because he's doing so much in agriculture. I learned about security from him. And in infrastructure, I learned it from Governor Pintri of Adamawa State. That is how we relate with each other. We were not just going to sit down and take tea. We were discussing, how did you do this? How did you do that? How can you help us to improve on this and that? And we thank the federal government for giving us the Northeast Development Commission, because it is giving us the required impetus for us to come together and to develop plans. There can't be anything without plan. And the M&E that we are doing, we know where we are precisely and where we want to go. And we want to assure the investors that are coming here, we know their importance, and we know that they are partners, and they are more important than us, because we couldn't do what they are here to do for us. So in that context, they are even more auspicious to us than ourselves. At the end of the day, we give you all the assurances that whatever you are going to do with us, there is that fidelity, that sincerity, and that trust. And I tell you, even after I leave office, this will be continued because we have institutionalized it.
I have said there are 5 P's that must go together for us to make progress. The first P is politics, governance. That P must be right. If governance is not right, then all other things will go wrong. The second P is people. We must take care of people. Living, governing, everything is all about the people. Another P is protection, security. And His Eminence mentioned that. Peace, security, stability, predictability. Nobody will come and invest when he cannot be sure that if he brings in 100, he will be able to get 120. And 10 out of that 120, he can repatriate and leave 110 to continue. Investors are hard-headed calculators, and don't underrate them. Another P is partnership, and you said that, you put that. And Alhaji Ayali mentioned that. Partnership at the local level. Partnership at the community level. Partnership at the state level. Partnership at the national level. Partnership with the private sector and the public sector. Partnership, the private sector, the public sector, the civil society. His Eminence is not here only because it's His Eminence. It's also the head of our religious group. We need partnership with the religious groups, the private sector, and then partnership between the states, partnership between Nigeria and her neighbors, partnership between Nigeria and the international community. But let me then say, if all these 5 P's are well taken care of, then there's the issue of leadership, which is leadership at all levels. And Governor Bala, that's where I doff my heart for you. And leadership is not a picnic. There are times that you have to step on toes. But it must be without malice. It must be righteous stepping on toes.
You cannot cure a disease unless you establish a diagnosis. This perhaps has been the most obvious shortfall of leadership in this part of the world. We cannot solve a problem we do not know, and neither can we sell a product that nobody needs. If one ventures to sell raincoats in the blazing heat of the Sahel during the dry season, one will understand the futility of offering solutions without context. This is why a gathering such as this is necessary. It imbibes the scrutiny that every nation or state requires to advertise its potentials and opportunities and to learn from experts and stakeholders. I am therefore honored to be a witness to this march into the future by Bauchi State. Your Excellency, thank you so much for convening this summit. While I commend the vision of our host and brother, His Excellency Senator Bola Ahmed Mohammed, CON, for opening Bauchi State to investment, I must also share with him the promise of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The federal government treats each state as a priority beyond the fiscal glories that accrue from the increased allocations now enjoyed across the Federation. This is so because an affliction to any state slows down the pace of development in other parts of the nation. And this is a burden of federalism that we must never allow to slow us down. We must either grow together or palter apart. The theme of this summit, rebuilding a resilient economy, optimizing investment and partnerships, is both an advertisement of Bauchi State as a destination for investors and a reminder that none of us can achieve enduring economic growth in isolation. We share this belief that you cannot escape laying the bricks across all parts of the nation if you intend to build an economy that will endure for generations. This means creating a stable environment to nurture ideas. This means targeted investment. This means public-private cooperation. This means practical, bankable projects that deliver jobs, incomes, and livelihoods for our people, as rightly enunciated by the elder statesman, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, who is always pregnant with ideas, who comes up with solutions to most of the challenges facing us as a nation. This is why, again, the first decision by His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu made was to remove those obstacles that had become termites in the timber of our progress. You cannot guarantee enduring growth and stability without having peace and development in a nation. There can never be development without peace. There can never be peace without development. And leadership is about continuum. And the leading light, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, GCFR, is here to testify to this truth. He endured a fair share of obstacles and pushbacks in his efforts to introduce reforms that set the nation on the path of rediscovery and stability. We do what we do because government is a continuum, and each of us owes it to future generations and policymakers to go beyond cosmetic surgery in our transgenerational search for an economic cure. We believe that there is no prophylaxis more potent than a stable economic stimulus. When you cannot predict the outcome of your investment, the system cannot claim to be suitable for business. It was this threat that inspired our bold reforms to harmonize the exchange rate regime and to dismantle the fuel subsidy structure, an avenue that had become a theater for round-tripping and rent-seeking, while the privileged few converted the nation's collective patrimony into their private poverty alleviation scheme. We may spend eternity debating the theories of our inactions, but the truth remains that nobody builds a house in a tsunami. Your Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our development plan is anchored on promises that can only be realized when we achieve stability. These include job creation, food security, value chain development, and the unlocking of subnational comparative advantages. These priorities are inherently present in Bauchi's investment offering: vast arable land and agricultural potential, abundant solid mineral resources, huge tourism and game reserves, renewable energy prospects, and improving infrastructure and business enabling reforms. This is why the objective of this summit aligns perfectly with our obligation to translate macroeconomic recovery into tangible improvements in citizens' daily lives. The federal government remains resolute in its commitment to ensuring security across the nation, because no economy can thrive where fear replaces freedom and where insecurity undermines enterprise. We came to office promising to turn around the fortune of the country, where the debt service to revenue ratio had shot up to about 100%. This is not the mood for celebration. Yet today, we are pleased to share that we have reduced it to less than 50%. Our GDP growth rate as of last month stood at 4.23%. Our non-oil revenues grew by 411% year-on-year in the same month. Our tax to GDP ratio now stands at 13.5%, up from barely 7% a few years ago. Our debt to GDP ratio remains at 38.8%, far below the limit set by the Fiscal Responsibility Act at 60%, and those of ECOWAS and the World Bank at 70%. Our external reserves has grown to $43 billion as of September 2025. I think we deserve a cloud. Nigeria has exited its phase of economic instability. And I assure investors present here that there is no better time to choose Nigeria than now. And with its vast arable land and livestock resources, Bauchi State can advance climate-smart agriculture, commercial outgrower schemes, and agro-processing hubs linked to national and export markets. The solid mineral reserves of this rich state can also enable responsible mining and downstream industrialization through transparent tendering, geological mapping, and community benefit frameworks. Bauchi's natural assets and cultural heritage can boost tourism, hospitality, and the creative industries, while its renewable energy and gas potential can power industrial clusters through public-private partnerships and off-grid solutions. My appeal to investors and stakeholders is simple. We must understand that Bauchi's advantage is not only its resources. What the state has advertised is its commitment to reforms that reduce bureaucratic friction, including streamlined incentives. We urge prospective partners to engage with both the state and the relevant ministries, departments, and agencies of the federal government to access support, scrutinize project pipelines, request data rooms, and explore blended finance structures that can make projects bankable and investment ready.